guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you a recent reads video. I want to talk about the last 4 books that I finished in March, and then we'll get into my April reading. So the first book that I finished that I want to talk about, I just want to mention briefly, and that is The Beautiful Cigar Girl, Mary Rogers, Edgar Allan Poe, and the Invention of Murder by Daniel Stashower. I did a whole video on this book by Mystery History Talk number 3, which will be linked down there. But I just wanted to mention that this is your pretty standard true crime nonfiction book. It's about the young cigar sales girl Mary Rogers, who was murdered in 1841 in New York City. And then it also discusses the short story that Edgar Allan Poe wrote about the case a year later, The Mystery of Marie Roget, which was with his detective Dupin, who's considered one of the first detectives in detective fiction. So yeah, this was a really good book, and again, it'll be linked down there in the box if you're interested in learning more about it. The second book that I finished that I want to mention is The Song of the Lark by Willa Cather. This is my 3rd Willa Cather novel this year. This is about the Thea Kronberg, who grew up to become a famous opera singer, and so we see her childhood in the small pioneer town of Moonstone, Colorado. We see her friendships that formed who she is, and we also see how she develops the talent that will later bring her fame and fortune. She later in the book moves to Chicago for training, and then eventually to New York City, and then in the epilogue, we see that she's traveled all over the world. And so this is just about the artist's life. Basically, that's the goal that Willa Cather had in writing the novel. And we also see how the impact of the pioneer town affects her even when she's in big city Chicago and bigger city New York. She also goes on a trip to the Southwest, and we see how that trip influences her in the latter part of the novel. This was okay. It's really long, and it was sort of one of those books where once I put it down, I never really thought about picking it up. I pretty much had to force myself to finish it by assigning myself a page count every day. It was okay. It's not going to be my favorite Willa Cather novel. Thea Kronberg, though, is a very interesting character. So yeah, I would recommend this if you're interested in Willa Cather's work. This is one of her more famous novels, I think. And yeah, so I'm glad I got this read. I then finished The Moonstone by Wilkie. This was a buddy read with Jo from Retired Book Nerd, and I'll link her down there too if you somehow are not following her. This is Wilkie Collins, one of his most famous works, the other one being The Woman in White. It follows the Moonstone, which is a impressive diamond that was stolen by a member of the Verinder family from India, and the person that stole it, John Verinder, brings it back to America and gives it to his niece Rachel on her 18th birthday, and then she experiences it is stolen. And so this is the case of how it was stolen, and we see all the actors the witnesses in the crime, and we see it's told from a variety of different narrators. I think it's like 12 narrators, everybody that witnessed the crime. So yeah, it's a really interesting book, and Jo and I had a lot of fun discussing it and passing different theories back and forth, and we're already discussing the possibility of doing another buddy read. This was my last book for March Mystery Madness, and it met the old prompt, and again, it was really good, and I'm really glad I finally read it, and I'm really glad that Jo and I had such a great reading experience together. And then finally, I finished The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzi. This was on my April TBR, but because I had finished all my March books already, I decided to pick it up, and it was a really fast read, so I did finish it before the end of the month. This follows Henry Montague, who goes by Monty. He's the son of an earl, and he's sort of what we would call a playboy. He's really into drinking, gambling, sweeping around with men and women, and he gets expelled from Eton, and his father decides to send him on a grand tour of Europe before he has to come back and take up his responsibilities as the heir of the family's estate. And this is set in sometime in the 1700s. It doesn't really say. So Monty goes on this tour of Europe with his best friend Percy and his little sister Felicity. And Monty actually has a really big crush on Percy, and that's a recent development. They've always been best friends, but lately Monty has been developing feelings. And so we see their adventures throughout this grand tour. Monty steals something from a very powerful man in France, and so the man sends some people after the group to get Monty and to get the thing that he stole back, and so they're forced on a little detour. They go to Barcelona, and then Venice, and then they end up in Greece. So this is a really fun book. It's 500 pages long, but it is a YA novel, so it doesn't really take that much effort to read it, and it's a page turner, and I read like the first 100 pages in the first day that I read it. So yeah, I would recommend this. Monty does get on your nerves. He's kind of a douchebag in a lot of ways, and even at the end he's sort of like not completely redeemed, although he is getting better, and you see that there is potential for improvement in the future. And so yeah, I definitely want to check out the sequel sometime, because it is about Felicity, who is a really cool character. She's a woman, of course, in the 1700s, but she's also very interested in medicine and learning to become a doctor. So yeah, I enjoyed this, and I'm glad I picked it up. So in April, I want to read 7 books, and the first book that I've started in April is The Ice Cream Queen of Orchard Street by Susan Jane Gilman. This is a historical fiction novel that starts in like the 1910s, and it goes all the way into like the 1990s, and it's following the life of Lillian Dunkel, who is a fictional character that created a ice cream empire. And so right now I'm just in where she's in college at Hunter College for Women in New York City. So yeah, I'm enjoying this so far, and I hope to have this done by the end of the weekend. And then also, I wanted to mention, it's not a book, but last weekend I binge-watched CB Strike, which is the series based on Robert Galbraith's Cormoran Strike series. And as y'all might remember, I finished the 4th book of that series earlier in the month. And this follows the first 3 series, The Cuckoo's Calling, or I should say the first 3 books in the series, The Cuckoo's Calling, The Silkworm, and Career of Evil. This is a really good show, and it was definitely on brand for March Mystery Madness, so I was really glad that I watched it. I watched all 7 hours of it in one weekend, because I didn't really have anything else to do, and I felt like watching it. But yeah, the guy that plays Cormoran Strike right here, he like exactly matches my headcanon, so what Strike looked like. So that was really cool, and I really enjoyed this. So yeah, I read 8 books this month, which is really good, and I only have to read 8 books in one more month this year, and then the rest of the year I can read 7 books. I'm planning to read the remaining 7 books on my April TBR in April, because as I mentioned in my TBR, I'm going to be busy with a work trip and other things. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to my April reading. I hope everybody's having a great day and you're reading some great books, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!